in reality, anyone who's investing in Google ads right now, if they want that channel as like singularly that channel, not just your entire thing, but if you want that channel to be profitable, you better be spending 10,000 a month in ad spend or more. And if you don't want, if it's just a piece or a way to feed you cold leads, which is what I think it should be, not always, like you should scale it when you want to scale it, but to start, then you just need to have this other stuff. It doesn't have to be my stuff. You can just think 3 appointments as a result of every job. Like it can be that simple if you need it to be.
I love how you're doing it. It really feels like what you're doing here is the missing piece. It's that piece between the contractor and the agency where it's like both sides are doing their best. Like the agency's doing what the agency said they're going to do in most cases. Well, maybe not even most, but like ideally,
more cases than people realize.
Yeah, they're doing their best. They're doing what they said. The contractors doing their best, doing what they said, for the most part. So like, both sides have their failings, but in general, it's like, this really feels like what you're talking about here is the missing piece where it's like, oh, if this was in place and if these systems were in place to maximize the value of each lead where you are getting, depending on your closer, I guess the way it works out with the numbers, assuming like a 30, maybe a 33% close rate, then you're going to get 2 jobs for every one. Is that basically how the numbers work out?
Yeah, but the nice thing is that one job, you get 3 additional appointments as a result of that one job if you do it right. And then it continues to get your cost per acquisition eventually just it goes down and down and down. Once it stabilizes, it will be spread out among a lot of jobs, and it'll just be like the cost of like the mail you're sending and the door hangers and stuff like that.
Right.
Obviously, commission is always like you need to include that in your cost per acquisition, or like at least account for it in your numbers.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that a lot. I'm really curious. So you're digging in with John here. Have you guys taken a look at the referral generation campaigns that we have built into Proline, or like his campaigns that are set up? Have you taken a look at that?
So we just are getting started with John. So I need to have my like full blown audit with them. I know Elizabeth probably has looked at some of those things. But I think, I mean, there's a reason I love Proline, and it's not just because I think y'all are awesome. It's because it fits in really, really well. Like it fits in with what we do, I think, really well. Like it's not just a lead nurturing thing. Y'all have accounted for multiple like solutions within the sales and production process that are kind of aligned with what we do. Can create additional value, can respect the cost that it takes, the cost of generating a lead. I think that's something people don't really respect, how much they spent on a lead a lot of the time, because they think that, oh, I got a lead for $30 on Facebook. It's like, yeah, but only 1 of 3 of those leads actually turned into an appointment. And then you have that $130 lead plus the management fee. And then you also have all your overhead. You have gas. And also that lead wasn't that great. So like they don't think through that. And I think y'all solutions like Proline is just, it really allows you to squeeze as much as you possibly can out of all of your work, not just the cold leads, but even giving people a fantastic experience. Like it matters.
I appreciate that. That's definitely been the goal. I think this is what you're talking about there is a result of how this was built in John's business from a very early stage. Like we started building this when he was still very early on. And it was all about squeezing as much as possible out of every single lead. It's like every single dollar that goes towards marketing has to be capitalized on. And I love that, like that, it's never been enough. John's continuing to push forward now with you to even further optimize and improve on that, the squeezing of every last drop. But that's, and also for me, so I don't know if you knew this about my background. I also had an agency.
I think we've talked about this briefly before.
Yeah, so and John was one of my clients, so I've seen it from the agency side too, just like you have, and much of this was also I was trying to account for multiple things in my approach to how Proline was built and designed, and it was squeezing every last drop out of every lead, but B, also I anticipated um, other agencies, consultants wanting to use the platform. And we actually have a
Yeah,
whole system. And I think you guys are on this right now. If not, we need to get you on it. But we have a super admin system where you can create a
I
free
think so.
account
Yeah.
where you can manage all of your clients through a single login. And it's super rare.
Yeah.
Like very few softwares have that, but we have that specifically to make this easy because I envisioned other people like myself who are working and consulting with contractors and with companies and wanting to go in there and build more stuff. Like we have our base stuff that's built into Proline. And I think this is a big misconception because so many softwares are so locked down in what they provide. It's like we do X, Y, Z, and that's it. You can't customize it, can't change it. Proline, it's like it's like essentially a blank slate. Now we pre-populate out that blank slate with a number of campaigns for a good part of the process, but it is a complete creative playground for consultants or agencies to go in there and build out new campaigns, link them up with any stage of the process, change the process. And so I'm really excited for you to get into this with John and look at his campaigns around
Yeah.
referrals because that
I've been on the brand new side of like someone just getting started with Proline, which has always been like insightful, and we see things that we can add in and tweak really quickly. But I'm pumped to like really dive in
again.
to like probably as established of a Proline account is there as there is, because I think it's just going to open my eyes to a lot of, while the functionality, I think I have a pretty clear idea of the ways to actually deploy that functionality like out in the field is what I'm really excited about, because I know John's creative. Like I've seen he thinks outside the box, which is really like really going to allow, I think, what we do to go further. But also I think that's part of why like y'all's relationship, for me, understanding these numbers and learning about this stuff was a result of a really strong relationship with John Bros. And he kind of schooled me on some things that I didn't necessarily see right away. Um, and we kind of like, and we worked on some potential solutions with him, and he came up with some of it. I came up with some of it, and we talk weekly to this day. And I think it's those types of relationships with agencies that are like where things like this can be. Like Proline is such a fantastic solution that a lot of people didn't know they needed. And bridging the gap, I think, is good because, like you said, agencies, I really don't think they're as bad as people think. It's just easy to blame the agency. And coming from someone who ran an agency, it's also easy to blame the contractor. Be like, they're not answering the phone enough. They're so unprofessional on the phone, on the call. Like, took them 6 hours to respond to this lead. All those things are problems. But like in reality, it's a budget thing.